it's manna, Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, oh, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.
What it do? It's Wednesdays, the On Your Mark Show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete, live from the Fishbowl Radio Network. Got my guy Coach Jay in the building as well, but I got a special guest today, Mironda Proctor. Listen, we're going to touch some subjects about track and field. She's a track coach. She's been heavily involved in athletics. And, you know, I ran across her a couple of weeks ago on some interesting posts. We're going to talk about that and more, especially with the Olympic trials just wrapping up. And we're just, you know, a few weeks from the Olympics starting. I think it's a great segue to come in and start talking about a little track and field and some of those things because, you know, a lot of times we talk about football a lot, but, you know, I think track, football, and any other sports, I think if you start with track, knowing how to run, knowing how to move, that will elevate your game in other aspects of other sports, and they kind of coincide. I think that it's a very important piece that we talk about a lot of times, and it's a key vehicle to get you where you want to go. Of course, Coach Jay in the building, but we'll start with Coach Mironda Proctor. Coach Proctor, appreciate you taking some time to join the On Your Mark Show today. How you doing?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me.
Yes, ma'am. So what I like to do with coaches, guests, is kind of get a little background for the listeners, just kind of where you started at, how you got into athletics to where you are now.
Yeah, I'm from a small town. In fact, it's the same town John Moran is from. I'm from Sumter, South Carolina. I'm a military child. My dad was in the military. Mom was a teacher. My dad is the one I credited first as being my first coach. Got me into athletics. Me and my brother's four years younger than me, and started off playing basketball. My first love, I would always say, is basketball. I'm a 90s kid, so I love Michael Jordan, of course, 90s Bulls. I grew up, that was my thing. Got into track just because I was one of the faster girls at recess, racing boys, you know, and my dad was like, yeah, you might be pretty good at track. And so I've never done AAU track. My brother did it, and my brother was really a baseball player, but I never did youth track. I didn't start seriously running until like 7th grade and was winning. And so when I got to high school, I was a multi-time state champion, ended up getting a full scholarship to go to South Carolina State University, which was also the alma mater of my mother, too. I had a great 4 years there. I always tell my athletes that if you get a chance to run collegiately or even play at any level, no matter if it's Division I, Division II, NAIA, like you're in the very small percentage of athletes that get that opportunity, and it's something that molded and shaped my life from there. The current coach that's there, Coach Donald Cooper, was also a big heavy hitter in me getting into coaching my junior year when him and his staff came, also with Tyree Price, who was at TCU. I talked to Coach Cooper, and I said, look, I want to get into coaching because he was one of the first coaches I had that brought video and broke down, like, running mechanics and the importance, like, all this stuff that I wish I had known, like, back when I was, like, 15 years old, 14 years old when I first got into it. And so he really got me into the coaching education, getting certified, going to as many professional developments as I can, and then also just talking to different coaches, because a lot of the information, and I'm sure both of you all know with being involved in sports, a lot of that professional development does not take place in quote, professional development. It's the going out to lunch and just listening to nuggets, sitting around and just y'all talking about various things and getting different training modalities and listening to different people. So that's how I got into that. And right after college, went into teaching and started coaching immediately. I'm 22, 23 years old, and I'm started with middle school. So I started straight grassroots, and then I worked my way up to get my first head coaching job when I was 26. And from there, it's been a ride. I've taken kids to nationals. I've taken kids to, I started my track club. I did that for a little while, did club track for a little while, and then I transitioned into wanting to be an athletic director. So that's what I'm about to do now. And that's just to impact kids on a higher level, with exposing them to things that I wasn't, and making sure that at the high school level that they get the things that I didn't always get. I'm not saying that I didn't have a great experience, because I did. I just know now it's so much more that I wasn't exposed to, and I want to make sure that our kids are, especially in South Carolina, where track may not be as big as it is like in Texas, Florida, Georgia, because when I do take my kids to nationals, like we went to Philadelphia Penn Relays, I took my daughter to compete, and I got a chance to see, and we're going to talk about Quincy Wilson, and I got a chance to see that in person, and that was just incredible to see somebody like that. And so athletics has shaped my life, molded my life, and made me the person I am. It's a big part of who I am. I even married a track coach, so it's a big, huge part of our lives, and I'm forever grateful to track and field and sports in general.
Well, Coach, I mean, I think, like minds think alike. You married a track coach. I mean, that makes it easier to transition into that. I mean, dedication to coaching and dedication to being there for athletes is a lifelong thing. Coach Jay and myself, we talk about these things all the time. And I think it's a big key to being able to teach, mentor, and help, athletes get to the next level. You mentioned it's a small percentage. Any sport that you play at the collegiate level, it's a small percentage. It's less than 10%. 7% of athletes make it to the next level. And that's not just Power 4, Division I. We're talking about the NAIA, JUCO, D2, D3, FCS, 7%. And you have to kind of hit that home with athletes and parents that when you get an opportunity to play at the next level, you get offered to play, a serious offer to play at the next level, you have to take advantage of your opportunities. And one thing that we try to talk about here on a weekly basis is what you have to do to get to the next level, what you need to be exposed to get to the next level. And I thought, in your introduction, you mentioned exposure, and exposing kids and to the right situations. Speak on that just a little bit, because you spoke about South Carolina maybe not being a heavy area as track and field in other parts of the country. We happen to live and coach and scout and cover athletics in Texas, Florida, Louisiana, most of the South. We get out west some a little bit, but track is life in this part of the country. But just speak how you try to get that the exposure piece started for a track athlete.
Yeah, so like I said, part of it was not only youth track. I mean, youth track is really big, and it allows you to see as a young kid, wow, I'm not just the best. I'm the best in my backyard, in my state, but there's so many other people. But when I coach high school track, I tried to get them out of the mindset of only focusing about being the best in your area. And part of that comes with them venturing out and attending different meets. Most recently, my team just went to the Adidas Nationals, and we have the Adidas Nationals in Greensboro. They had Nike out in Eugene, and then New Balance up in Philadelphia. But they got an opportunity to go to Adidas just because of proximity. It was just a lot easier to travel to Greensboro, and they came back with a totally different mindset of going into next year of how they're going to train, because it wasn't just going to the state meet. It's changing the mindset. So for them, they're a young team. They came in and they're like, we made it to state last year. And I said, great. Now the goal should be to win at state. You made it to nationals this year. Now the next goal should be to be on the podium, to win, And so just allowing them to see like how different people from Ohio and Texas and Florida and Georgia and how they all run, like that was big and major, because I told them when they get ready to go to college, like these are the people that you're competing with, because track is not subjective. Like, you can go and look up the times. You either run this, jump this, throw this, or you don't. And so, like, it's very cut and dry. So I'm like, and also exposing them to what the little things that we talk about, they see it. Because sometimes, if you're a parent, you can tell your kid all day something. Somebody else can tell them, and they'll believe it. And you're like, I've been saying this for a while.
No doubt.
They went to the meet. They went to the meet, and they saw how serious, kids were taking the warm-up. How they were focused. They weren't on their phones. Like, they were locked in and stuff. And that's something I was preaching to them the whole year. And they came back with a new perspective. And they were like, Coach, we got to make sure. Like, they started telling me, and I'm happy. They would have never came to that conclusion themselves if they didn't do that. We talk a lot about marketing themselves on social media too. How you carry yourself. We're in a different age. I graduated high school in 2005. It wasn't no put your stuff on Twitter, put your video on Instagram. It was none of that, right? But I was like, y'all have a unique opportunity to where Coach can go on Twitter and see your video. I always tell a story about how I got a 6'10" high jumper. He jumped 6'10", and when he was a sophomore, he got recruited off Twitter just simply for me sharing a video. She hit me up. She offered him the very next day. So when I say stuff about exposure, I'm telling them to take advantage of every opportunity that you can get to put yourself out there and to make yourself better.
Coach Jay, man, listen, this is something we talk about all the time, and I know that track and field is one of your babies, one of your passions, and we're talking about the exposure piece of track and field, which is totally different from football. We talk about football probably 4 or 5 times out of the month on the show, but today we're talking about track and field and things, exposure for that. Coach Jay, that exposure piece is totally different. Coach Proctor just kind of broke that down. Speak on how you try to stress that to your parents and players and everybody that you're coaching and mentoring.
Man, the biggest thing about what I love about track and field is like Coach said, the numbers are cut and dry, and it's a lot easier to navigate recruiting because colleges are going to tell you the times that they'll recruit. So if you can hit those times, it's a lot easier to be recruited. The positioning is you have to make sure that you have those times in fully automated timing systems, which is what we call FAT. That way you have, real proof that, hey, I'm consistent in running these times, and then you put that information out there, and the recruiting kind of, happens organically because of the work that you've put in. The key is, again, that window is somewhat different than football because the money isn't as huge as what we speak about on the football side. So you pretty much have to be able to run, the 100 long jump, run relays, things like that in order to maximize the amount of dollars that you can get from the collegiate side, unless you're just that, 100-meter specialist and they say, hey, we're going to get points, from you. And they still try to get those guys to run, other events as well. So they put themselves in a position to win at the next level. So the recruiting is a lot more cut and dry when it comes to track and field. The key is being able to hit those times, but you still got to put that information out there because, again, it's recruiting worldwide for track and field, just like, football and everything else. So if you can run, they're recruiting from Jamaica and everywhere else. So wherever there's fast people, they're recruiting. So you got to be that first one to get on the radar and kind of lock in.
Well, it's definitely a different animal. Another piece to the puzzle that you mentioned and Coach Proctor mentioned as well. As far as the money goes, it's not as plentiful as football. Your grades have to count immensely towards you getting the academic money to pay for scholarships for track and field. Coach Jay, speak about that. And then Coach Proctor, I'll give you the chance to elevate and talk about it on that. Elaborate on that just a little bit.
Mark, we talk about that even on the football side. Your biggest leverage is going to be that core GPA, and that should be standard across all sports because there is no guarantee that you're going to go P4. So whenever you have a high core GPA, you have the ability to pull money from the academic side that can help, boost you on the athletic side, especially depending on, what level you're running at. NAIA, D2, D3, of course, we know that's academic. So that core GPA is a huge factor in how much money you're going to be able to get. So if the purse strings are low on the track side, you can still pull 90-95% from somewhere else, depending on what that core GPA is. So that's something that should be stressed from 8th grade. You don't wait till your sophomore year to start focusing on getting that GPA. That's 8th grade going into your 9th grade year. That should be something that you're deadly serious about. A lot of kids miss out on opportunities because they get in the hole early and have to dig their way out, and it's really tough.
Coach Proctor, speak on that just a little bit. How important you try to stress to your athletes? Of course, the first part is student. You have to stress that, and the athlete comes second. But in track and field, I think it's more, need to be stressed at a higher level. Not that it not stressed in the other sports, but track and field, there's not a lot of scholarship money for those athletes, when they go off to school. So speak on that a little bit.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, because I told them, track and field is a non-revenue sport, so all their scholarships and stuff is contingent off of what the revenue sports bring in, right? As a teacher, I taught biology for about 15 years, and that's one of the biggest things that I always stress to my athletes, and having a good relationship with your school counselors is really huge. The NCAA clearinghouse and that process and stuff was a baby of mine in 2020, where I tried to get as much information out to parents, hosting Zooms and things like that to educate them on the NCAA process and how that is different than just getting a simple diploma from high school. It's other factors that go into that, and also knowing the schools that you are applying to and what they are requiring as well. Because someone was like, I get a kid every year, I want to go to Alabama. And I'm like, do you know what it takes to get into Alabama? Have you even done any research, on what do they have your major? These are questions, and like Coach said, this starts from 8th grade, because I always tell them that 9th grade is a foundation year. And just like with building a house, if you build it on shaky foundations, you think that house is going to last very long. No. So you need to have a good foundation. I stress to them, and I had a teaching biology here in South Carolina. I come across freshmen, so that's who I teach. So I stress to them all the time, hey, you need to make sure you have the best GPA. You're taking the right classes. I always get to a point as an athletic director, I got to a point where I had to keep checking their transcripts and aligning it with what and I did the worksheet and went over them. Hey, you're getting these D's and you're getting these C's, it's not going to cut it, because your core GPA is what matters. And simply passing is not going to do it. Going to credit recovery is not going to do it. And, other coaches are going to go into a different direction, because if you're lining it up and, okay, you run 47 seconds in the 400 and so do you, but you got a core GPA of a 1.7 and this one over here has a 2.9 or 3.0, they're going with that one because they're not the liability to drop out of school or not go to class or, not be eligible. So explaining that to them helps, but like Coach said, that starts from 8th grade. I can't. My daughter is about to be in the 8th grade, and she knows all the time I will snatch these sports away before, because that GPA, those grades are not going to fall. Because no matter what, you always going to have that education to fall back on if that athletic career doesn't work out.
Absolutely, and the key about it is the foundation. And I tell kids, and I told my kids, when they were going through school with athletics, it's 4 years of cumulative academic work. That's the first day you set your foot on that campus until the day you put on that cap and gown, you have to work. You have to get it done within those 4 years. It's not, I got to wait to a senior to, get my academics together. It starts in the 9th grade. When you get on that campus, when you set foot on that campus and you sit in that desk and you pick up your pen or now the computer, whatever it is that you got to do to get your academics together, it's 4 years of hard work and 4 years of dedicating yourself just as much as you dedicate yourself on the field. If you don't get it done in those 4 years, it's not going to be done. And it's up to the athlete to get the student athlete to get that done within those 4 years of academic preparation, because you just can't wait until your sophomore or junior year. You have to start on a good foot with a great foundation academically.
Yep.
Now, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. I want to get both of you guys' opinion on this. This is a heavy debate about track and field. Summer track. How important is summer track versus, just running for your school as far as recruiting goes to get to the next level? Some parents may want to stop at a certain time and, or the athlete may want to participate in other sports. But if they're a serious track kid or really want to go to the next level with track, how instrumental, Coach Proctor, I'll start with you, is competing and competing at a high level in summer track?
Okay, I'm going to speak from two perspectives. One is a coach, and then now one is a parent. Because from a parent, my daughter has been involved with track and field since she was 7 years old. She's 13 now. And in our district, they don't have middle school. They don't have a sanctioned middle school season in her district. So they run up with the high school. So she was the only 7th grader on her high school team in the highest classification here in South Carolina. So for her, she's been running summer track her entire life. And this year she played club volleyball too. It was a very busy season for her. And I had to scale her back as a parent because I just saw how much she was doing. I will say for next year, with her having gone to Philadelphia, going to New Balance National, next year, as her being an 8th grader, I'm probably going to cut her off from after that meet because it's a long season. She competed indoors. She competed outdoors. She did a club volleyball season. She did an outdoor season. And then on top of that, now she's doing summer track. So I just think it's a lot. And so I need her to get rest and recovery so that she can be the best at what she does. From a coach standpoint, I look at it the same way, but the goals are different. If you're you just want to do track and your track is it, and you don't do any other sports, and you're just now trying to get on the scene, I think that summer track is good within reason. I don't think that having excessive amount of meets like every weekend, every other weekend is beneficial. It's just like with all these AAU sports. Like I think AAU is getting out of control, but that's another topic. But I just don't think that doing so many meets is going to be as beneficial as doing quality meets, if that makes sense. Like right now, my daughter, she participated. She's doing the AAU circuit, so we only did AAU district, which is the state meet, and then we did the regionals, and then she's not competing again until the end of July, early August for nationals. So she's only done 3 track meets this entire summer just because of the amount she did in her high school season. I just think that it was a lot. So I do think that it's great for exposure depending on what your goals are. But I also think it needs to be done within reason to make sure that you're not burning the kid out because the track is becoming a year-long thing with the addition of indoor, outdoor, the summer track. It is becoming a year-long sport. So you do always have to take into account the health of the child and making sure that they're getting the rest and recovery that they need. Absolutely.
And that, I think that's a key point. And, we're going to get into how we initially met was a post that, myself and Coach Jay both picked up on that I thought was really important. And I can learn from it as myself from a parent's perspective as well. But Coach Jay, this is something that you harp on. I know you talk about all the time. It may not be in the athlete's best interest to just run every meet, maybe pick meet strategically to run, and not beat them down and wear them down. But how important from your perspective has summer track been for your athletes going forward, trying to get the exposure to get to the next level?
Man, it may not be, popular opinion, but something that, and this is coming from somebody that loved summer track, that ran summer track as a kid all the way through high school, absolutely loved it, and was, late to two-a-days because I was at nationals every summer. Once I started coaching and understanding, if you go from January to August, for a kid like her daughter, my kid started very early, 5, 6 years old. And you're talking, 8, 9 months out of the year for one sport, or you're trying to, fit 2 sports in, you're running track and basketball or, softball. But again, if you're going from January to August, from 7 to 17, that's 10 years, right? That's where burnout becomes real. So to me, balance. There has to be a balance in, how often, how much you do it, because track is one of those sports where you really got to love it to train as much as you have to train and to get out there in the heat, stay all day, Saturday, Sunday, whatever, and it is a grind, and it's a mental thing that a lot of kids get burned out. And this is coaches' kids, as well. A lot of coaches I know, including my own kids, that started very early, just fell out of love with it because of the amount of running, every week. So, again, balance. Me personally, I always take the approach of looking at it, per kid. What does this kid's need? If you didn't have a fruitful, outdoor track season in high school, meaning you didn't get to run a lot, or you were, injured, then yeah, maybe you should have a full, summer schedule so that you can, catch up and get a better base of times for next year, and of course the exposure piece. So I think it just depends on each kid, what the particular outcome and need is, versus just saying every kid should run summer track, run on 5 different, events every single week. Because again, the longer you do that, the more the possibility of, burnout is real with track and field. A lot of kids can play football or, basketball year round, and it don't really bother them. You don't really see a lot of kids getting burned out in those sports than you do track. And I say that, and Coach, you could back me up on this. Go and look at AAU, USATF. Look at those times from kids very early, and then go up 4 years. Those kids aren't there no more. They gone. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
They're gone. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
There's a new wave of kids. Then fast forward 4 more years. Those kids gone for the most part, right? Very few kids last in that sport. So now you have to take a step back and wonder, why is this? It's because they're running too much. My personal opinion. So I think it should be based on the kids' needs, and it should not be about the medal count, because last I checked, college coaches could care less about the medals you win in middle school. They don't care. At the end of the day, it's about times, and the most important thing is that a lot of people miss is they want kids with gas in the tank when they get to college. If you're mentally burned out, if you're at a point where you don't want to grind when you get there, then all of that was for nothing. Save some gas so that they can go get the money and stay there to facilitate what they need to do when they get there. But if you burn them out early, how are they going to turn that thing on and continue that? So again, if you start from 7 to 17, that's 10 years already, right? That you're running 8, 9 months for free. So now that you got to go make money doing it, are you going to want to turn it up even more now that college coaches are saying, hey, we about to really run you into the dirt? And mentally they're like, wait, what? I've been doing that for years. You feel me?
Right.
So again, it's balanced. And then how many parents, coaches are working on the mindset, right? Well, of course we're working on the body because I want you to be faster. But who's developing and re-energizing their psyche, right? Because again, boy or girl, if you're winning, right, you got to have a different mentality to keep winning every year, right? So that could be potential burnout. If you're losing and you're getting closer, you got to have a different mentality. So balance, right? Are we balancing everything versus being selfish for our goals as a high school coach, as a summer track club? Where does the kid fit in to that long term once they leave you? To me, that's the most important issue.
Well, I mean, that's a perfect segue into, my next topic. Coach Mironda Proctor is in the building with us all the way from South Carolina, and of course, Coach Jay in the building right here on the On Your Mark show, powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. I want to give a quick shout out to some of the people that are watching. Shout out to R.L. Martin, Jesse Phillips, Coach Brown from MTX Elite. Appreciate y'all for listening, tap into some great information today. I know Coach Brown is going to love this because he's been talking about this for weeks with his training and his kids going on in the summer. But Coach Proctor, the big thing that you wanted to harp on and wanted to really get across, and I'll read this. This is a post she made a couple weeks ago on how we kind of got in touch. Give those kids a break. Some high school track athletes have realistically been training and competing from October to June. Not only are their bodies tired, they're mentally drained. Don't take the fun out of track with this grind and no days off mentality. Coach Proctor, break that down and kind of what was the message that you wanted to get across with that post?
I wanted to get across, and I tell my athletes this too, the rest day or the day off is a training day. I tell them that. They're like, oh, Coach, will I practice today? No, it's a rest. It is rest and recovery. It literally says that in my training plan, rest and recovery. It's not active recovery. It's not meaning, I'm giving y'all the day off and y'all go out here and do 6 hill sprints. I didn't say that. I meant go sit down somewhere and rest your body, because I know that I'm probably following that up with a different training plan, a different training modality that is going to be taxing on their body, and I need them to be rested. The no days off and grind mentality has really kind of, to me, I get the concept behind it, but kids take that literally and think that they have to do something in order to be great. They got to do something every day. And track and field, like you said, is different. It's different. You will burn a kid out. There's no such, I just said this the other day to an athlete, there's no such thing as 10-year-old, elite 10-year-olds. Like, that doesn't exist, and that mentality takes the fun out of it. And with track and field, like I said, it's becoming a year-long thing. Realistically, I know that here in South Carolina, our open season where you can just start doing anything with track and field begins the beginning of October. So you got coaches that are teaching, kids how to hurdle. They're in blocks. They're doing everything, and then closed season happens. Well, we have indoor, and we have the University of South Carolina that hosts indoor meets. We have Clemson that hosts indoor meets, and we have JDL, which is in North Carolina, which is about 2.5 hours away, host indoor meets. And we don't have a sanctioned indoor season, but a lot of our elite athletes, they go and run at these different meets. Then they go to indoor nationals. Then we're starting our outdoor season in the end of January, early February. So you got that. Outdoor season officially starts in March. You got all the way, and our state meet doesn't end until the middle of May. Then you have nationals 4.5 weeks after that in June, Father's Day weekend. And then you got some of those things. Now, a lot of those kids shut it down after New Balance Nationals, but some of those kids, I just saw them last weekend at the regional AAU meet. They're still running. So they're going to go to nationals. So they won't finish, and they'll probably have like a month off in August, maybe August, September, and then they're back at it again. But some kids, they keep going, and that would lead to burnout. That would lead what we call the training ceiling. Everybody has a training ceiling, like that's the fastest you're going to run. If you don't leave a little bit of room for those college coaches to work at, they're not going to maximize their full potential. And you touched on something that I take personally, because I think that some coaches push their kids to the limit for their own validation and not what's in the best interest for the kid. I didn't do my job as a high school coach if my kid is maxed out when he or she goes into her freshman year of college. I have one of my favorite athletes. She's one of my most decorated athletes, which is Nicole Wells, and she's at Appalachian State. And she won the indoor national 200 at Nike in 2022. And she ran one of her best seasons this year. She still had room, even coming back from a hamstring injury. She had room to improve and not only got back to her high school PRs, but exceeded them. And her coach was like, thank you, called me and said, thank you for, getting her ready mentally, coming back from this injury. Thank you for allowing to leave a little bit of room for me to work with her, because she's going to continue to get better. And that's what it should be about. They shouldn't be burnt out before they even get and touch the college campus. So I think that whole tweet was kind of encompassed about a lot of those experiences I've had, just seeing youth athletes, grind for 10 to 11 months out the year and not doing other sports. Like, they're 7, they're 8. Let them go and play basketball. Let them go run track. Let them go, play volleyball. Let them try something and work different muscles out and then come back, so that they're not just burnt out from track and field. And like you said, on the mental side of it too, because track is very, very mental. If you watch Sprint on Netflix, it just came out. Me and my husband have been binging it, and you just get into the mental aspect of track and field and how much mental it is. They talk a lot about training, but mental training is probably, if not more important than the physical side. And I think that's for any sport, but especially for track and field.
Man, that's a big topic. Coach Jay, I can hear you chomping at the bit. I know, from being in training with you, this is something you preach, this mindset. And I, you know what? I think besides maybe like golf or maybe even baseball, this is probably one of the most mentally challenging sports because of the work, like you both have spoken about, that has to go into being elite at track and field. Coach Jay, go ahead. I know you want to chime in on that.
Oh my man! Listen, we can have a million conversations, and thank you, Coach Mironda, for accepting the opportunity to come on and talk about something I truly love a lot. Track was my second favorite sport next to boxing, and football was right behind track. But again, the mentality, man, track will put a kid in depression because, again, it's you versus you. And you have to do a ton of training to get on the track, and it's over before you know it. But the amount of time that you have to put into it just to run 2 minutes or a minute or, 13 seconds of whatever the event is, it's stressful. And then when we don't even want to go into the whole parenting thing where you have to be great. You got to do this. You got to do that. So now as a 7, 8-year-old, I want to make you proud. So I'm giving you my all, and I don't even know what my all is. That's where, again, the mental part is so crucial. And then what Coach said that I wanted to say, but I didn't want to carry on. But that time window, which is very important, and we can argue this all day, but everybody has a speed window. Me, personally, I would rather that window come later than early. Mm-hmm. Meaning, if I'm in high school and I'm pushing my kid to run their fastest time, let's take a boy for an example. I want you running 10-2 in high school. Unless you're just God-given gifted, if I have to train you hard as Hades to pull that out of you, how much better you're going to be, in college. Now, let's look at what was the kid from Houston that ran 9-something a couple of years ago, Mark? Man, his name just slipped my brain. White light.
Jeremy. Matthew from that's at Georgia.
So now, if you go back and look at the times that he's running in college, and this is no bash to him at all, but he's running pretty much the same time he ran in high school. He's not gotten much faster consistently. Yes, he's probably been injured a few times, but the ceiling, hasn't. I think it came a lot faster because he just missed out on making the Olympics. He made it, to the Olympic trials, but he missed out. I think he got 8th or 9th or something like that. But the times that he was producing in high school, he hasn't consistently beat those times.
Absolutely.
Now, when it really counts.
Right.
So that's why I'm saying that speed window, I would prefer it coming late in life than early. Versus when you look at like Carl Lewis. Carl Lewis will say, I don't want state champions. I want guys that I can coach, guys that aren't prima donnas, guys that still have something left in the tank. Again, that's just one coach. But again, the process should be, let's not max these kids out in track and field, because nobody, I don't care how good of a track coach you are, nobody can say how fast you're ever going to be able to run unless you're going to cheat. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Nobody can say you're going to be a 9.8 or a 11.2, 100-meter girl when you're in the 7th grade. Nobody knows that.
Right.
So they're just going to say, you know what? We're going to run the heck out of you, and you're going to win now, and whatever happens, happens. Right?
Mm.
Absolutely. I mean, Coach Jay, from being around, the last couple of years with you training track and field and training my son especially, I've heard you say those things. It switched my mentality of what you have to do, or trying to get him in the right situations. And Coach Proctor, it was a thing where you have to listen to him mm-hmm. to get through to him. You know what I mean? It was a thing where he, like you said, Coach Jay, from 7 to 17, he started out running. It's like you said, Coach Proctor, this kid was running everywhere he wanted to go. I mean, let's stick you on the track and see what you do. And he did well as a youngster. But now he's, approaching his senior year, and so we scaled back a little bit. We didn't run summer track this year because, he expressed that he kind of felt like he was getting tired of running. So we have to ease back and let him breathe a little bit, because you've been running for a long time, and you're not going to put your best effort and put your best foot forward. Then it's not for you. You know what I mean? It may not be something that you need to be doing, but you have to listen to your body. You have to listen to, when it comes to being a parent, you have to listen to your athlete. Sometimes as parents, we can, put that, pedal to the metal type of mentality where we want you to go, train. And that's not always the best way to get through to an athlete. And I think both of you guys made great points about that, as far as listening to their bodies. And Coach Proctor, that's one reason we wanted to have you on today, is because you hit the nail on the head with your post. And, you expressed you wanted to talk about, hey, why not talk about it right here on the On Your Mark Show? This is what we do to educate and elevate you every week right here from the Fishbowl Radio Network. But before we get out of here, I want to get both of you guys' opinion on Quincy Wilson, the young phenom that's going to be going to the Olympics as a 16-year-old. He's been setting records while still in high school. This is something that does not happen very often on the track. Coach Jay, real quick, I'll start with you, and then Coach Proctor, thoughts on Quincy Wilson.
He's a generational talent. It's amazing to see. Now, I've heard, and we can look up the times in Jamaica. There are guys that run very fast, over there, but it's something different, over there. But for him to be 16, running that fast, that is an amazing accomplishment. But again, he's in the right situation because he's where he needs to be with that speed window. He's not running just high school. He's not running summer track. He's running for money. So in that situation, he's maximizing his potential all the way, for however long he can run. He's maximizing it right now financially, putting himself in a position to get the fruits of that labor early versus, him just doing that on the high school stage. So I think he's a generational talent, and I'm looking forward to him winning and breaking records for years to come.
I mean, you it's like this, second coming of how Michael Jordan rose to where he was, or Kobe Bryant, or something that you just don't see every day. I kind of had a lazy eye on it. He did well. in the 400 event, the open 4 that he ran. It's just those guys were a little bit stronger, a little bit older. But when he gets to that level, I think it's going to be a wrap. You know what I mean? And he's
no doubt. He's gonna be afraid.
Yeah, he's not. Well, he's not afraid of the big moment. You know, going up there in Oregon, he did well, and to make the Olympic team was extraordinary. Coach Proctor, speak on Quincy Wilson a little bit.
Like I said, I had the pleasure of seeing him run in person when we were at New Balance, which took place during Father's Day weekend. So I did get to see him run the 400 there, and it wasn't even close in comparison to other high school boys. So when I'm like, he's going to absolutely kill it when he goes to, the Olympics, for the Olympic trials and stuff. So, and I don't think that people understand how taxing it is as an athlete to run at the semis and then to come back and run again in the finals. Like, he broke his own record twice. He ran sub 45 twice in 2 to 3 days.
Right.
Yep.
And so that's amazing in itself. But I just have to commend his coach and everybody they obviously had to. This was probably a goal that was set for him, but the creation of his training plan to make sure that he could last a whole high school season and endure this. Kudos to his coach for doing that, because if he had been with a typical high school coach, he might have been burnt out before he even got the New Balance, and he might not have been able to do that. So I think that his coach really understood the goal in mind and made sure that the boy was not burnt out. And the way he speaks in his interviews, it also seems like he has a different mindset than a lot of other 16, 17-year-old kids, kids his age. He's so cute there talking about his driver's license and stuff. And he was like, he just went out there and ran 44.
No
like,
doubt.
That's crazy. But very humble kid, very sweet kid.
Absolutely.
And stuff. But you could tell he runs a smooth training. He trusts the training. And so I think he's going to be definitely a name in track and field. And like Coach said, a generational talent.
Absolutely.
I don't think that we'll see anything like this for a while. Like, I just can't. Every time I see him run and just watching him run in person, I'm like, this is incredible.
Absolutely.
Like, how?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was impressed, especially up in Oregon. I've seen clips of him, but to see him run live, was something. And for those first 200 meters, he was right there at the front. On the back end, it was kind of more about strength, and those other guys kind of legged it out. But he came in third, a strong third, in the race that I watched, and I thought that this kid is going to be a world record holder pretty soon. He's already broke records under 18. He's on his way, and for him to make the 4x4 team, I think says a lot as well. So, shout out to him. Shout out to all the Olympians that are coming up. Very impressed with Sha'Carri Richardson and her strength. And that team's going to be TT. Looked real good in her race. The Americans are going to be strong. I can't wait to see that. And I'm glad we got a chance to talk a little bit about track and field today with Coach Proctor and, of course, Coach Jay. Coach Proctor, this is the end of the show. We'll just kind of give you a chance to kick some shout-outs before we get out of here. And also social medias where anyone can follow you and let everybody know where they can find you at.
I'm mostly active on Twitter or X, whatever y'all want to call it, at Educator MNS. I shout out state of South Carolina. I love South Carolina. I'm not born here, but raised here all my life. My husband, Coach Proctor, he's also just won his first state championship at Ridgeview High School. My high school I work at is Richland Northeast, which he is a grad from. I'm going to be transitioning into athletic director there. And shout out my girls on the team, Destiny, Janaya, all of them. They were some great girls that trusted my vision for them, and I think that they're gonna be ones that we're gonna talk about later on the show. Y'all have me back on again. I'm definitely gonna talk about them because they're ones I can attribute that mindset shifted once we started talking about how great they could be, and that's just God blessed me to be in a position where I could impact kids like that, and I appreciate y'all having me on, and I love what y'all are doing, and I'm definitely going to be tuned in for future episodes to listen to y'all.
Absolutely. Listen, we're gonna have you back on. That you're in the family now. We have guests that we rotate in and out because the information is what we're all about here to educate and elevate you right here on the On Your Mark Show. Powered and sponsored by Epic Sports Apparel. Every play I compete. For Coach Proctor, Coach Jay, I am Mark Henry, your host. We'll be back next week. Hey, tomorrow's the 4th. Everybody be safe. Take your time. Be safe and be smart out there. We want to educate and elevate you. See you back here next week. Shout out to everybody that tuned in. Listen, like, share, subscribe to the On Your Mark Show YouTube channel. This episode will be up this afternoon, and we want you to share it. If you tuned in today, share it. This is great information for those athletes, especially since we're in a time right now where being an athlete is one of the biggest struggles that's going on right with our youth, and we want to make sure that we get you the right information right here. Make sure you hit your mark. Make sure you're on your mark with us every week right here on the Fishbowl Radio. We'll talk to you on next week. We out. Shout out to Maynard Mike who takes us out. My guy Scott Rapp on the visuals.
Hey, this Manna Mike. I'm not sure what you own, but this here is on the mark. Like a spiral from a 5-star recruit, we throwing darts, really focused. WD-40 couldn't stop the way we grinded. In the trenches, putting that work in, I relate to all my linemen. This is for the men, the boys do not belong here. Tiptoeing to the top, we doing cone drills. The hottest show in the world, you don't even gotta search. Steady putting in work, you see the sweat up on my shirt. They wasn't aware of us at first, we wasn't on their radar. Now every play that we make, they gon' say, similar to a razor blade, we gon' stay sharp. The news ain't official if it's not on the mark.